Progress over perfection. Three simple words that carry the weight of transformation. For most of us, the reason we hesitate to begin, the reason we hold back our dreams, and the reason we lose faith in ourselves is because we measure everything against an impossible standard called perfection. We imagine that every action must be flawless before we take it, every step must be guaranteed before we move, and every plan must be complete before we start. But perfection is not the beginning of success. It's the illusion that keeps us from even taking the first step. Progress, on the other hand, is the quiet, unglamorous act of moving forward, even when you're uncertain, even when it's messy, and even when no one is watching. When you think about your life so far, the things that have truly changed, you weren't the perfect moments, they were the imperfect ones. They were the days you stumbled, the nights you questioned yourself, and the times you failed but decided to try again. Perfection doesn't teach you anything new. Progress does. Each small action, each attempt, each imperfect effort is a teacher that shapes your strength, deepens your understanding, and prepares you for what's next. The mistake most people make is believing that success comes from a flawless path, when in truth, it comes from consistency. It comes from showing up again and again, no matter how rough the journey feels. Progress over perfection means accepting that growth is not a straight line. There will be times when you move forward quickly and times when you crawl. There will be moments when you feel unstoppable and others when you feel lost. But as long as you're still moving, as long as you refuse to give up, you are making progress. Every single step, no matter how small, brings you closer to where you want to be. You might not notice it today, you might not see it tomorrow, but one day you'll look back and realize that every tiny effort built the foundation for your success. We live in a world that constantly glorifies perfection. Social media, society, even our own expectations make us believe that we have to be extraordinary all the time. We compare our behind-the-scenes struggles to someone else's highlight reel and convince ourselves we're not good enough. But what you don't see behind that perfect picture, that perfect performance, that perfect success story, is the mess that came before it. Every great achievement you admire started with a messy beginning. Every person you respect was once uncertain, unpolished, and imperfect. They became great because they embraced progress, not because they waited for perfection. Imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. The masterpiece we eventually admire doesn't appear all at once. The sculptor doesn't strike the stone once and reveal perfection. It's a process of chipping away, one imperfect stroke at a time, guided by patience and vision. Each strike removes something unnecessary, revealing something new. That's what progress looks like in our lives. It's the process of refining ourselves through effort, failure, learning, and persistence. Every attempt is a stroke of the chisel, shaping us into who we are meant to become. There's a quiet courage in progress that perfection will never know. Perfection waits for the right moment, the right plan, the right feeling. Progress starts with what it has. Perfection says, I'll begin when I'm ready. Progress says, I'll begin now and I'll figure it out along the way. The truth is, you'll never feel completely ready for your next step. No one ever does. Growth doesn't wait for readiness. It demands action. Every expert you've ever admired started as a beginner who dared to take an imperfect first step. Every business, every art form, every movement began with someone who was willing to try before they were ready. When you chase perfection, you set yourself up for frustration, because perfection is not a real destination, it's a moving target. The closer you get, the farther it moves. No matter what you achieve, there will always be something you could have done better, something you could have improved. But when you focus on progress, you give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. You celebrate the small victories, you learn from the missteps, and you build resilience along the way. You learn to see value not only in the results, but in the journey itself. Progress over perfection also means showing compassion to yourself. Too often, we speak to ourselves with criticism instead of kindness. We say things like, I should be farther along by now, or I'll never be good enough. But growth doesn't come from punishment, It comes from patience. If you treat every misstep as a failure, you'll stop moving. But if you treat it as feedback, you'll keep learning. Every mistake is information, every setback is guidance, and every delay is part of the process. When you understand this, your relationship with progress changes. You stop fearing imperfection and start embracing learning. Think about nature. A tree doesn't sprout to full height overnight. It grows in seasons slowly, quietly, sometimes invisibly. There are seasons of bloom and seasons of stillness, but growth never stops. You don't see the roots growing deeper beneath the soil, but that's where the real strength is being built. You are the same. Even when you can't see visible results, even when you feel stuck, growth is still happening within you. Every challenge you face is stretching your patience, your strength, and your faith. Every obstacle is teaching you something you will need later. Perfection often leads to procrastination. How many dreams have been delayed because someone was waiting for the perfect time? How many goals have been abandoned because the first attempt wasn't flawless? The problem with waiting for perfection is that it keeps you trapped in hesitation. You wait, and eventually, opportunities pass you by. But progress invites you to take imperfect action. It invites you to start where you are, use what you have, and trust that you'll improve as you go. The first version of anything you create won't be perfect, and it shouldn't be. Perfection isn't the goal, evolution is. You refine through repetition, you learn through experience, and you build confidence through doing. When you choose progress over perfection, you also choose freedom. Freedom from fear of judgment, freedom from the weight of expectation, freedom from the illusion that you must have it all together. You begin to live with authenticity instead of anxiety. You realize that real confidence doesn't come from appearing perfect. It comes from knowing that you can handle imperfection. The people who inspire others most aren't those who never fail. They're the ones who fail, learn, and keep going. Their power lies in persistence, not flawlessness. There's a quiet magic in the small steps you take every day. You might think they don't matter, but consistency compounds. 1 page a day becomes a book. 1 workout a day becomes a transformation. 1 act of courage a day becomes a legacy of strength. Progress might look slow in the moment, but it's unstoppable when you stay consistent. Even when you don't feel like you're winning, you're building momentum. The smallest daily effort can change the trajectory of your life if you just don't stop. It's important to remember that perfection often hides behind fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of not being enough. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every failure carries a lesson that brings you closer to mastery. If you never fail, it means you're not taking risks big enough to grow. So let yourself fail, let yourself try things that might not work. That's where progress lives, in the courage to experiment, to explore, to evolve. When you stop being afraid of failure, you start unlocking your full potential. Progress also demands patience. In a fast-paced world, we crave instant results. We want success now, recognition now, transformation now. But real progress is built in the unseen hours, in the quiet persistence when no one is clapping. It's built in the effort you put in when motivation fades, in the discipline to keep showing up even when it's boring, repetitive, or hard. Success is simply the sum of many small, consistent actions performed with intention. Perfection wants a shortcut. Progress understands that the long way is the real way. One day, you will look back and realize that all those small steps, all those imperfect efforts, mattered more than you could have imagined. You will see how the mistakes that once embarrassed you became the stories that strengthened you. You will see how the setbacks that made you doubt yourself actually redirected for you to something better. You will realize that every time you thought you were failing, you were actually growing. That is the beauty of progress. It transforms pain into purpose and confusion into clarity. So, today, I want you to release the need to be perfect. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect skill, or the perfect plan. Begin with what you have, start where you are, and trust the process. The person you admire, the life you dream of, the goal you're chasing, it's all waiting on the other side of action. Don't let perfectionism rob you of your momentum. Every day you move forward, no matter how small the step, you're building a life that reflects courage, not fear. And if you stumble, remember this: progress is not erased by imperfection. One bad day doesn't undo your growth. One mistake doesn't define your worth. You are allowed to be a work in progress. You are allowed to be learning, changing, and improving. In fact, that's what makes you human. You don't have to prove your worth by being flawless. Your worth is already there. You prove it by showing up, by trying again, by refusing to let setbacks break your spirit. Perfection is a finish line that doesn't exist. Progress is a journey that never ends. And the beautiful part about that journey is that you get to redefine yourself over and over again. Each day gives you another chance to do a little better, to grow a little stronger, to move a little closer. That's what success really is: the continuous pursuit of improvement, not the illusion of perfection. The most fulfilled people are not those who reached perfection, but those who kept growing, kept learning, and kept moving despite the imperfections. So, if you take one message away from this today, let it be this: progress is enough. Your effort is enough. You are enough. Keep moving, even when it's hard. Keep believing, even when results take time. Keep growing, even when no one notices yet. Because one day, you'll look back at all the times you doubted yourself, and you'll smile knowing that you made it not because you were perfect, but because you never stopped making progress. Purpose over pressure. Those three words can change the way you experience your entire life, because in a world that constantly tells you to move faster, do more, and achieve everything all at once, purpose invites you to slow down. It reminds you that your journey isn't about keeping up with others. It's about aligning with who you truly are. Pressure pushes you to perform. Purpose invites you to grow. Pressure says you're behind. Purpose says you're right where you need to be. We live in a generation addicted to urgency. Every second, we are told that we must be more productive, more successful, more visible. We scroll through images of people who appear to have everything figured out, and we begin to question our own pace. We start to believe that we're falling behind in some invisible race. But the truth is, there is no race. There is only your path, and your pace is perfect for the story you are writing. The comparison, the pressure, the noise, it all fades when you reconnect with your purpose. Because purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. And you can only hear it when you stop chasing and start listening. When you live from pressure, everything becomes a performance. You wake up with the weight of expectation on your shoulders, the expectation to prove, to please, to achieve. You measure your worth by how much you accomplish and how others perceive you. But when you live from purpose, life becomes an expression, not a performance. You act not out of fear of failing, but out of love for what you're creating. You stop chasing validation and start building value. The shift may be subtle, but it transforms everything. Purpose gives meaning to effort. It turns what you do into who you are becoming. Pressure thrives on comparison. It feeds on the illusion that your value is determined by how you rank against others. But your life was never meant to be compared. It was meant to be lived. No one else has your exact experiences, dreams, or gifts. You are not here to duplicate someone else's journey. You're here to design your own. The moment you measure your success by someone else's timeline, you disconnect from your purpose. You start running a race that was never meant for you. And even if you win it, you'll feel empty. Purpose, on the other hand, is deeply personal. It's not about outpacing others. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Think about it. Every person who has ever made an impact in this world did so not because they followed the crowd, but because they followed their calling. They didn't let pressure dictate their pace. They let purpose guide their direction. People of purpose move differently. They don't rush. They don't panic when things don't happen immediately. They understand that growth has seasons and that timing is part of the plan. You might not be where you want to be yet, but that doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're still being prepared. Every challenge, every delay, every detour has a reason. The universe, God, life, whatever you believe in, uses time to shape you, not to punish you. Purpose trusts that. Pressure doesn't. When you live under pressure, you focus on outcomes. When you live with purpose, you focus on the process. Pressure says, I'll be happy when I get there. Purpose says, I'll find joy right here. Pressure makes you restless. Purpose gives you peace. There's something powerful that happens when you stop chasing results and start pouring yourself into the meaning behind what you do. You begin to experience fulfillment, not just achievement. You begin to measure success not by numbers or recognition, but by the impact you make and the integrity you keep. Purpose gives you a reason to wake up, even when it's hard. It's the fire that keeps burning when motivation fades. Many people confuse busyness with purpose. They think that if they're constantly doing something, they must be moving forward. But motion without meaning leads to exhaustion, not progress. You can be running at full speed in the wrong direction and still feel like you're achieving something until you realize you've lost sight of why you started. Purpose realigns you. It reminds you that doing less with intention is far more powerful than doing more without direction. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do what matters most. Pressure often comes from fear. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of missing out. Fear of not living up to expectations. But living from fear will always drain you. Purpose comes from love. Love for the work. Love for growth. Love for the difference you can make. And love sustains you. When you act out of pressure, you burn out. When you act out of purpose, you light up. You can always tell the difference between someone driven by pressure and someone fueled by purpose. The one under pressure is exhausted, anxious, always striving, but never satisfied. The one with purpose may be tired, yes, but they're fulfilled. They may not have everything yet, but they move with clarity and calm because they know where they're going and why. It's easy to lose your sense of purpose in a world that praises results. The world measures success in numbers, followers, income, achievements, but purpose measures success in impact in the lives you touch, the growth you experience, the peace you cultivate. You can have all the accomplishments in the world and still feel empty if they aren't connected to something meaningful. And you can live a quiet life, unseen by many, but feel deeply fulfilled because you know your purpose. The difference is alignment. When your heart, your actions, and your intentions align, you stop chasing happiness and start living it. Sometimes purpose is not about knowing exactly what you're meant to do. It's about being open to discovery. You don't always find your purpose in a single moment of clarity. You often uncover it through small, consistent acts of curiosity, service, and courage. It reveals itself as you walk your path. And that's why pressure is so dangerous. It makes you impatient. It makes you believe that if you haven't found your purpose yet, you're lost. But you're not lost, you're learning. Every season of confusion is preparing you to recognize your calling when it appears. You are not running out of time, you are ripening into it. The world moves fast, but purpose doesn't rush. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came after long seasons of silence, struggle, and waiting. The butterfly doesn't emerge before the cocoon is ready to open. The seed doesn't sprout before the soil has nurtured it. Likewise, your purpose unfolds in perfect timing. Not your timing, but the right timing. The pressure you feel to make everything happen now is just a distraction from the deeper truth. What is meant for you cannot miss you. The doors meant for you will open, but only when you've grown strong enough to walk through them. Until then, your only job is to keep becoming. Purpose also teaches humility. It reminds you that success is not about being better than others, but about being of service to others. The pressure-driven mindset asks, How can I stand out? The purpose-driven mindset asks, how can I contribute? When you focus on serving, you naturally rise. Because the world always makes room for people who act out of genuine purpose. Pressure isolates you, but purpose connects you. It aligns your energy with something greater than yourself, and in doing so, it gives your life depth. Every time you act from purpose, even in small ways, you reclaim your power. You begin to live from intention rather than reaction. You stop chasing validation from the outside and start drawing strength from within. You realize that you don't have to prove your worth, you just have to express it. Every meaningful action you take is a statement. I am living for something that matters. And when you live that way, pressure begins to lose its hold. It no longer controls you, because you've anchored yourself in something that can't be taken away. Purpose is also what gives your struggles meaning. When you know why you're doing something, you can endure almost anything. The challenges don't disappear, but they stop defeating you because you see them differently. You begin to understand that the pressure you feel isn't always an enemy. Sometimes it's the tool that shapes you. Diamonds are formed under pressure, yes, but not all pressure is destructive, only the kind that has no direction. When pressure meets purpose, it becomes strength. It forges resilience. It teaches you to turn pain into power and delay into discipline. It's easy to let pressure trick you into thinking you must have everything figured out by a certain age, that you must reach a specific milestone to be valuable. But life doesn't follow a universal timeline. Some people discover their purpose early, others discover it later. Some bloom in their 20s, others in their 50s, and that's okay. Flowers bloom in different seasons, but they're all beautiful when they do. Stop rushing your growth just because someone else's garden is blooming before yours. Your time is coming, and it will be worth the wait. One of the most liberating truths you can embrace is that your worth is not measured by your productivity. You are not a machine. You are a masterpiece in progress. Rest does not make you lazy. Reflection does not make you weak. You don't have to earn the right to slow down. In fact, slowing down might be exactly what helps you reconnect with your purpose. Pressure keeps you busy. Purpose keeps you balanced. The quiet moments when you pause, breathe, and reflect are often the moments where clarity appears. So, if you feel overwhelmed right now, if you feel like you're falling behind or carrying too much weight, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not behind. You're being guided. You are exactly where you're supposed to be for this part of your story. Take the pressure off your shoulders and replace it with presence. Be here, now. Do what you can with what you have, and trust that it's enough. You are not late. You are aligning. Purpose over pressure is not just a mindset, it's a lifestyle. It's a choice you make daily to respond to life with intention instead of reaction, to honor your inner voice over outside noise, and to value depth over speed. It's the choice to walk with faith, even when the road is uncertain, because the truth is, you will always face pressure to succeed, to prove, to become. But when your life is anchored in purpose, pressure loses its power. You move with calm conviction instead of chaos. You know who you are, and that's more valuable than anything you could ever achieve. At the end of the day, no one will remember how quickly you reached your goals. They will remember how deeply you lived your truth. No one will celebrate how perfectly you executed your plans. They will celebrate how passionately you pursued your calling. The legacy you leave won't come from the pressure you endured. It will come from the purpose you embodied. So, breathe. Let go of the need to rush. Stop chasing the illusion of enough. You already are enough. The pressure will pass, but your purpose will remain. Trust it, follow it. Let it guide you quietly through the noise of the world. And one day, when you look back on your journey, you'll realize that every step, even the slow ones, even the painful ones, was leading you exactly where you were meant to go. Because you didn't live by pressure, you lived by purpose. And that made all the difference. Faith over fear. These three words hold the power to change how you face every single moment of your life. Because at the heart of every decision, every dream and every challenge, there is a choice to be guided by fear or to be grounded in faith. Fear whispers that you're not enough. Faith reminds you that you already are. Fear tells you to turn back. Faith tells you to take one more step. Fear is loud, impatient, and demanding. Faith is quiet, steady, and unshakable. And while fear may come naturally, faith must be chosen every day, in every situation, especially when it's hardest to believe. We all know fear. It's the voice that questions your worth, that magnifies your doubts, that paints worst-case scenarios in the mind. It's the hesitation before the leap, the anxiety before the change, the heaviness before the breakthrough. Fear tries to convince you that safety lies in standing still. But what it doesn't tell you is that stillness can also become a prison one, where you watch your dreams fade behind the bars of what if. Faith, however, is what gives you wings. It tells you that the unknown isn't a threat. It's a canvas. It tells you that even if you don't see the whole path, the next step is enough. Faith is not blindness, it's confidence in something beyond sight. It's the strength to trust in the process, even when you don't understand it. It's knowing that the same power that carried you through yesterday will carry you through tomorrow. Faith doesn't eliminate fear entirely, but it gives you the courage to move despite it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else, your purpose, your dream, your belief, is more important than fear. That's what faith does. It reminds you that you have something worth fighting for, worth believing in, worth enduring for. Fear makes your world smaller. It tells you to settle, to lower your expectations, to avoid risk. Faith expands your world. It invites you to step into possibilities you can't yet prove. Every great story of success, innovation, or transformation has one common thread: someone chose faith when fear was easier. Every time someone stepped into the unknown, they made a decision to believe in what could be, even when there was no guarantee. That's where the magic happens, in the space where fear tries to stop you and faith pushes you forward. We often think of faith as something spiritual, but it's also deeply practical. It's in every moment you choose hope over despair. It's in every time you trust yourself to keep going even after failure. It's in every decision to start again after a setback. Every moment you choose optimism instead of cynicism. Faith is the muscle of resilience. It grows stronger every time you use it. The more you trust, the more capable you become. The more capable you become, the more courage you develop. And suddenly, the fears that once paralyzed you lose their power, not because they disappear, but because your faith outgrows them. Fear thrives in uncertainty, but faith transforms uncertainty into opportunity. Life will never give you complete clarity before you move. You won't always know how things will work out, and that's okay. Because faith doesn't ask for guarantees, it asks for willingness. It asks you to believe that even if the path twists and turns, there's a purpose to it. Sometimes faith will mean walking into a door you're not sure will open. Sometimes it means waiting patiently when everything in you wants to rush. Sometimes it means trusting that a closed door isn't rejection, it's redirection. The faith-filled heart doesn't crumble when plans change. It adapts, knowing that there's something greater at work, even if unseen. There will be moments in life when fear feels stronger than faith, when everything around you seems uncertain, your plans, your relationships, your future. When you face loss, failure, or rejection, and you start questioning whether you're truly guided or completely alone. In those moments, it's easy to let fear win, but that's when faith must speak louder. Faith doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. It means you choose not to be ruled by it. It means whispering to yourself, "I don't know how, but I will make it through this." It means trusting the light even when you can't see it yet. Think about every challenge you've overcome in your past. At the time, you probably didn't know how you would get through it. You might have felt lost, unprepared, or broken. But you made it here. You faced fear before, and yet you're still standing. That's proof of faith, not necessarily the religious kind, but the kind that says, something inside me refuses to give up. You've been carried by a strength that can't be measured, but can always be felt. And that same strength is still within you. Faith isn't something you find, it's something you remember. It's already there, waiting for you to trust it again. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells you to be realistic, to play it safe, to avoid disappointment. But logic without vision is limitation. Faith, on the other hand, invites you to be brave enough to dream beyond your current circumstances. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about believing you can shape it. Faith allows you to look at a problem and see potential, to look at a setback and see setup. It teaches you that even pain has purpose. Every delay, every detour, every closed door is refining you for something bigger. Fear says, what if it all goes wrong? Faith says, what if it all goes right? Fear is loud because it's easy. It requires no effort to worry, to doubt, to imagine failure. Faith takes effort. It requires surrender. It demands trust. It's choosing to believe in something unseen, not because it's guaranteed, but because it's possible. That's where real strength lives. The person who moves in faith isn't reckless. They're rooted. They know that even if they stumble, they will rise. Even if they fall short, they will learn. They understand that failure doesn't define them, it refines them. Fear judges every mistake as an ending. Faith sees it as an education. Sometimes faith is not a roar. Sometimes it's a whisper. It's the quiet voice that tells you to get up again, to keep trying, to keep believing, even when nothing around you seems to change. It's the stillness in your heart that says, this isn't the end. The world celebrates big victories, but real faith lives in the unseen, in the daily discipline of hope. It's choosing light when darkness surrounds you. It's showing up when you feel like hiding. It's loving when you've been hurt. It's forgiving when you want to hold on. That's faith, the ability to rise again and again with grace. There's a reason fear feels so heavy, because it feeds on control. Fear wants you to predict, manage, and secure every outcome. But life doesn't work that way. The more you try to control everything, the more anxious you become. Faith, however, teaches surrender, not as weakness, but as wisdom. It says, I don't have to know everything to move forward. I don't have to see the entire staircase to take the next step. There's freedom in that kind of trust. It releases you from the need to be perfect, from the illusion that you can plan your way out of uncertainty. Faith gives you peace in the middle of chaos, not because circumstances are perfect, but because you know you'll be okay regardless of them. There will always be reasons to be afraid, uncertainty in the world, obstacles on your path, moments of doubt. But fear cannot coexist with focus. When you fix your eyes on your vision, your purpose, or your higher calling, fear begins to fade. That's why faith is not just belief, it's alignment. It's the conscious decision to focus on possibility instead of limitation. When you believe that something greater is guiding you, you begin to move with quiet confidence. You stop reacting to every setback and start responding with wisdom. You stop panicking about how it will happen and start trusting that it will. Faith is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary examples of resilience. The difference between someone who gives up and someone who grows stronger is not that one never felt fear, it's that one refused to let fear dictate their story. Every breakthrough in your life will come from a moment when you chose faith instead of fear. The moment you applied for something you weren't sure you'd get. The moment you spoke your truth, even when your voice trembled. The moment you took a chance on yourself, despite uncertainty. Those are the moments that define your future. Faith also requires patience. We often want immediate results, instant answers, visible proof. But faith works quietly and gradually. It's the unseen foundation that strengthens you before the breakthrough comes. The waiting seasons are not wasted, they are working seasons. They teach you endurance, gratitude, and depth. They shape your character. You might not see it yet, but faith is building something within you, a strength that cannot be shaken when the storms come. Because storms will come, but when your foundation is faith, you don't crumble. You grow deeper roots. Fear focuses on what you can't control. Faith focuses on what you can do right now. You can take a small step. You can keep learning. You can keep believing. That's enough. Each act of faith, however small, compounds over time. Just like a seed, you may not see the growth immediately, but beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. Your belief is building momentum. Your courage is attracting opportunity. Your persistence is shaping your destiny. Faith doesn't always change your situation instantly, but it always changes you. And when you change, your situation eventually follows. The most beautiful thing about faith is that it's contagious. When you walk in faith, others around you feel it. You become a living reminder that it's possible to stand tall even when life shakes you. You inspire others to rise, to hope, to believe. You remind them that fear is not final. That alone is a powerful purpose, to be a light for others while you walk your own uncertain road. So, if you're facing fear today, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, take a deep breath and remember, you've been afraid before and still made it through. You've faced uncertainty before and still found your way. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need faith enough for this moment. That's all. The rest will unfold in time. When you live by faith, you stop needing to know what's next because you trust that whatever comes, you'll be ready for it. You stop letting fear control your decisions and start letting faith shape your destiny. You stop surviving and start living. Because faith over fear isn't just a phrase, it's a way of life. It's waking up every day and saying, I may not know how, but I know who I am. I may not see the way, but I trust that there is one. It's believing that even in the dark, you are guided. Even in the storm, you are protected. Even in the waiting, you are growing. And when you live like that, nothing can truly defeat you. Not failure, not rejection, not uncertainty. Because your foundation is unshakable. So, choose faith, again and again. Even when fear feels louder, even when doubt surrounds you, even when everything seems uncertain. Choose faith because fear limits you, but faith liberates you. Fear looks at what can go wrong. Faith imagines what can go right. Fear says, I can't. Faith says, watch me. And one day, you'll look back at every challenge, every sleepless night, every fear that once terrified you, and you'll realize that it all worked out exactly as it was meant to. Not because you never felt afraid, but because you never stopped believing. That's the quiet miracle of faith. It turns your worries into wisdom, your battles into breakthroughs, and your fears into fuel. So keep walking, keep believing, keep choosing faith over fear, and you'll find that every step, even the trembling ones, will lead you somewhere beautiful. When God says, be ready for 28th and 29th of November, it is not a sentence made of ordinary words. It is a vibration. It is a call that travels beyond the surface of human understanding. It goes deeper than the ear, deeper than the mind, straight into the core of the spirit. It is the kind of call that only a prepared soul recognizes, because divine communication never arrives without meaning. Nothing from God is casual. When heaven chooses to mark a date, heaven is telling you that a moment has been carved out of time specifically for you. A moment that carries weight. A moment that carries intention. A moment that carries destiny. But most human beings walk through life asleep, unaware of the signals that were destined for them. And so, the first step is awakening to the simple truth that God never speaks without purpose. If you heard this message, if your heart responded to this call with curiosity, emotion, or energy, then understand something: the message was meant for you. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about the silent language of life, the language that is not spoken through sound, but through timing, coincidence, intuition, alignment, and internal movement. This is that language. This is that moment. When God calls you to be ready for 2 specific days, He is saying that the flow of your path is being adjusted. Something is shifting. Something is preparing to unfold in your life. But you cannot receive what you are not ready for. You cannot notice what you are not awake to. You cannot hold what you have no space for. And so, the call arrives before the event. It always comes before the manifestation. The call is the first sign, the first signal, the first knock on the doors of your awareness. It does not reveal the entire picture because your faith is meant to walk before your eyes. It does not give all the details because your spirit grows when you take steps without seeing the whole staircase. But it gives you a direction. Be ready. To be ready means to open your inner senses. It means to expand your awareness. It means to silence the noise that distracts you from what is coming. You cannot hear destiny when your mind is loud. You cannot feel divine movement when your spirit is cluttered. You cannot understand sacred timing when you are rushing through life without presence. And so this call is not about panic or fear. It is not about worrying what might happen. It is about stillness. It is about preparation. It is about understanding that the next phase of your life needs a different version of you than the one you have been carrying until now. It is God's way of saying, there is something ahead that your current awareness may not be prepared to receive, so begin your preparation now. Shi Heng Yi teaches that the universe reveals itself to those who train their perception. And God, above all, is the source of perception, awareness, and understanding. When He tells you to be ready for 28th and 29th November, He is telling you to sharpen your perception so that you do not miss what others will walk past. Not every shift in life is loud. Not every blessing arrives with fireworks. Not every sign echoes in the sky. Sometimes the greatest changes come quietly. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs begin as a whisper. Sometimes the most important turning points come disguised as small moments. And only the one who is ready sees the truth beneath the surface. The call is not about predicting events or trying to guess what might happen. The call is about readiness, alignment, receptivity. It is about entering a state where you are more aware of your internal world than your external noise. God may bring clarity. God may bring a sign. God may bring an opportunity. God may bring a message through a conversation, through a dream, through a shift in your emotions, through a sudden realization, through an unexpected encounter. But you will only recognize it if your inner world is awake. If you walk into these dates with the same routine mind, the same distracted state, the same emotional noise, the same spiritual dullness, you may walk right past what was meant to elevate you. When God calls you, He is calling you to open your soul. He is calling you to breathe differently. He is calling you to see differently. Because when divine timing intersects with human life, awareness becomes your greatest skill. Think about the countless people who receive blessings but do not recognize them. Think about the opportunities that come to people but go unnoticed. Think about the signs that were meant to save a person, but they ignored them. The difference between the chosen and the lost is not luck. It is awareness. It is readiness. It is the ability to respond when God speaks. Shi Heng Yi says, when the student is ready, the teaching appears. This applies spiritually as well. When the soul is ready, the shift appears. But when the soul is asleep, the shift passes by unnoticed. This is the meaning of divine calling. God is preparing you so that you can receive what is coming rather than miss it. He is preparing you so that your inner state matches the next chapter He is bringing. You cannot enter a new chapter with the mindset of an old one. You cannot receive new blessings with old habits. You cannot climb a new level with the same heaviness you carried on the level before. So when God calls you to be ready, He is indirectly asking you to release the weight that will stop you from rising. He is asking you to release the anxiety, the fear, the overthinking, the bitterness, the self-doubt, the procrastination, the negative patterns. Because these things block your spiritual senses. They reduce your capacity to sense divine timing. The call is also a test, not a test of suffering, but a test of awareness. Will you prepare your heart even when you do not see the full picture? Will you listen even when you do not hear the details? Will you trust the call simply because you recognize the one who sent it? Humans want clarity before action, but the divine pattern is action before clarity. God calls you, then waits to see if you respond. If you respond, then He reveals the next step. This is how destinies are shaped. This is how transformations begin. This is how spiritual breakthroughs unfold. When God gives a date, He is pointing your attention toward a window of spiritual movement. These windows are rare. They are not random. They are moments where the veil between your life and your destiny becomes thinner. They are days where what was unseen begins to take shape. They are days where internal shifts become external realities. But only those who are ready can cross that window with awareness. Imagine standing at the edge of a path and knowing that the next 2 steps will change the direction of your life. That is what the call to be ready for 28th and 29th of November means. It means you are approaching a threshold. It means these days are not ordinary. It means these days carry a potential that your spirit must be alert to. Readiness is not physical. It is internal. It is how you think, how you perceive, how you process, how you interpret the signals around you. It is how deeply you listen to your intuition. It is how willing you are to release old versions of yourself. It is how connected you are to your inner silence. In silence, divine messages become loud. In reflection, divine movements become clear. In stillness, divine timing becomes visible. This is why the call instructs you to prepare, not to fear, not to panic, but to enter a deeper state of awareness. For many people, life is a series of reactions. They react to circumstances. They react to emotions. They react to opportunities too late. But those who respond to divine calls do not live reactively. They live consciously. They live intentionally. They live in a state of inner balance. And balance allows them to see what others cannot, to feel what others ignore, to sense what others overlook. This is the advantage of responding to the call. It elevates you above chaos. It places you in alignment with divine timing. It prepares your heart to receive without resistance. Shi Heng Yi always emphasizes the importance of presence. When you are fully present, your perception sharpens. When perception sharpens, meaning becomes visible. When meaning becomes visible, guidance becomes clear. This is what God is calling you toward presence. Presence for the days He has marked. Presence for the moment He has arranged. Presence for the shift He is preparing for you. And understand something deeper. The call is not only about the dates. It is about who you become before the dates arrive. It is about the transformation that takes place inside you as you prepare. When God calls you to be ready, He is creating a space inside you for something new to enter. It may be clarity. It may be a realization. It may be a sign. It may be a decision. It may be an opportunity. It may be a release of something heavy you've been carrying. It may be the beginning of a new chapter. But whatever it is, readiness ensures you do not reject it when it arrives. There are moments in life when God says, "Pay attention." Moments when He gives a signal that the ordinary rhythm of life is about to shift. These are sacred moments. And you are standing in front of one of them. This is why your spirit felt something when you heard this message. This is why the words, "Be ready for 28th and 29th of November," echoed in your heart. It is because your soul recognized the call even before your mind understood it. This call is your invitation to step into a higher state of consciousness. It is your invitation to release the noise within you. It is your invitation to approach these days not casually, but consciously. It is your invitation to grow, to awaken, to rise, to listen, to trust, to prepare. Because something aligned with your destiny is moving toward you, and God wants you ready when it arrives. You are not being warned. You are being chosen. You are not being scared. You are being elevated. You are not being threatened. You are being prepared. And when God prepares a person, He does it quietly. He does it gently. He does it through awareness, not fear. Through awakening, not confusion. Through calling, not forcing. And so the message remains simple but powerful: be ready. Not with fear, not with anxiety, but with awareness, clarity, presence, and trust. Because God calls those He is about to guide. He awakens those He is about to elevate. He prepares those He is about to bless. And if you are hearing this call, it means you are standing at the edge of something meaningful. Enter these days with an awakened heart, and you will understand why God asked you to be ready. When God says, be ready for 28th and 29th of November, the instruction is not only about preparing your body or your schedule. The real preparation begins in your inner world. Alignment is the silent force that shapes destiny. It is the inner adjustment that allows the outer world to shift in harmony with a higher plan. When you hear a divine message, you do not receive it with your ears, you receive it with your alignment. Without alignment, even the clearest sign becomes invisible, even the loudest message becomes muted, and even the greatest opportunity is missed. This is why the second keynote is not noise, not decoration, but the very core of spiritual readiness, the alignment of your mind, your emotions, your intentions, and your energy with the path God is preparing for you. Shi Heng Yi teaches that the outer world mirrors the inner state. When the inside is chaotic, life appears chaotic. When the heart is heavy, life feels heavy. When the mind is scattered, opportunities scatter. But when alignment is present, life begins to flow, signs become visible, intuition becomes sharper. Even challenges appear as guidance instead of obstacles. This is the hidden meaning behind divine timing. Before God changes your circumstances, He aligns your inner world, because an unaligned soul cannot carry the weight of a destiny moment. Imagine receiving a blessing with a mind full of doubt, a heart full of fear, or a spirit full of distractions. How long would that blessing last? Without alignment, even miracles slip through your fingers. But with alignment, even the smallest step becomes meaningful. Alignment means bringing every part of your inner self into harmony. It means understanding that what is coming on the 28th and 29th of November requires a state of clarity. Clarity is not accidental. Clarity is cultivated. It is something you create by stepping away from noise, by observing your own thoughts, by becoming conscious of the emotions that guide your actions, by recognizing where your energy flows and where it is wasted. God is calling you to align because something meaningful is approaching, and you must be able to recognize it. You cannot see divine movement when your vision is clouded with worry. You cannot feel spiritual guidance when your heart is tangled in past pain. You cannot follow the right direction when your intentions are pulled in conflicting paths. Alignment is the tuning of your internal instrument so that you can hear the frequency of what God is sending your way. Consider how the human mind works when it is unaligned. You wake up with one intention, but your emotions pull you in another direction. You want to focus, but distractions steal your energy. You want to grow, but old habits pull you backward. You want to listen to your intuition, but fear overrides your inner voice. This inner conflict is not just emotional, it is spiritual. It prevents you from catching signals. It blocks you from noticing divine timing. It makes you blind to opportunities that were created for you. Alignment removes this inner conflict. It brings unity to your mind, heart, and spirit. It creates stillness, and in stillness, you can see what you were never able to see before. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about the power of internal balance. He says that when the mind and the body and the spirit move in one direction, nothing external can disturb you. This is alignment. When God asks you to be ready for 2 specific days, He is inviting you into this state of internal unity. He is asking you to step into a deeper awareness of your own thoughts, to observe your emotions instead of being controlled by them, to listen to your intuition with more trust, to let go of the mental noise that keeps you disconnected. Because on those days, alignment may be the only thing that allows you to recognize what is being revealed to you. Alignment is also about intention. What do you truly want? What direction is your life moving in? Are your actions aligned with your desires? Many people say they want clarity, but they continue feeding confusion. They say they want peace, but they entertain chaos. They say they want blessings, but their daily habits contradict the blessings they are asking for. Alignment requires honesty. It requires courage. It requires deep self-reflection. God is not calling you to pretend. He is calling you to align. Because when your intentions become clean, your path becomes clear. You must also understand that alignment is an active process. It is not something you think about once and then forget. It is something you maintain. It is a daily discipline of clearing the mind, grounding the emotions, and listening to the movements within your spirit. This is why monks, like Shi Heng Yi, train every day, not because they are weak, but because they understand that alignment can be lost when attention wanders. The world is full of noise. It is full of distractions that pull you away from your purpose. But God is calling you to re-center yourself, to bring your attention back to what truly matters, to bring your awareness back to the present moment, because the present moment is where alignment begins. To align means to bring your life into resonance with the message God has sent you. If He is telling you to be ready, then readiness becomes your intention. If He is calling you toward clarity, then clarity becomes your practice. If He is preparing you for a divine moment, then awareness becomes your responsibility. Alignment is not about predicting what will happen on those days. It is about preparing yourself to see whatever happens with spiritual eyes. It is about making your inner world sensitive enough to feel divine movement. It is about creating space within you so that guidance has room to arrive. When a person is aligned, life becomes synchronistic. They start noticing things they used to ignore. They feel things they used to suppress. They understand things they used to overlook. The ordinary becomes meaningful. The random becomes intentional. The unseen becomes visible. This is the gift of alignment. It turns confusion into clarity and chaos into order. It transforms the way you perceive life, and therefore transforms the way you experience it. When God marks 2 dates for you, your perception must be sharp, or you will not understand the significance of those days until they have already passed. Think about how easily a human being's energy gets scattered. A single thought can throw the mind off balance. A single emotion can shift the direction of your day. A single distraction can derail your focus. This is why alignment is essential. Spiritual timing requires spiritual focus. Divine movement requires inner stillness. If your mind is lost in the past or the future, you will miss what is happening now. But if you align yourself, if you bring your awareness back to the present moment, you will sense the approach of something meaningful. Alignment also requires letting go of certain internal heaviness. You cannot align with destiny while carrying the weight of old pain. You cannot step into clarity while holding on to fear. You cannot recognize divine timing while dwelling in doubt. These emotional weights cloud your inner vision. They distort your perception. They weaken your intuition. So part of alignment is release. Release of resentment. Release of disappointment. Release of emotional clutter. Release of attachments that keep you stuck. God is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be aligned. And alignment is not only about what you remove. It is about what you strengthen. It is about strengthening your trust, strengthening your awareness, strengthening your connection to your inner voice, strengthening your ability to sense spiritual signals, strengthening your courage to walk into something unknown. Because divine timing always involves the unknown. You may not know what exactly will happen on the 28th and 29th November, but alignment prepares you so that whatever happens, you are ready to understand it. Shi Heng Yi teaches that awareness is the foundation of all transformation. When you are aware, you begin to break unconscious patterns. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop repeating old cycles. You start observing yourself, your environment, and the thoughts that arise within you. This awareness is not passive, it is powerful. It is the first step toward mastery. It is the beginning of alignment. Without awareness, you cannot align. Without alignment, you cannot receive divine signals. Without receiving divine signals, you cannot understand the meaning of sacred timing. When God says, "Be ready," He is also saying, "Be aligned." Because readiness without alignment is incomplete. You can prepare your outer world, but if your inner world remains scattered, the preparation means nothing. You can wait for the dates to arrive, but if your awareness is asleep, the dates will pass without meaning. This is why alignment is essential. It ensures that the instruction becomes an experience, that the message becomes a realization, that the signal becomes guidance. In truth, the moment you heard the message, alignment began. Something inside you responded. Something inside you awakened. Something inside you recognized that these days carry significance. That recognition is your spirit moving into alignment. Now you must maintain it. You must deepen it. You must nurture it. Because alignment is not a moment, it is a state. And the more aligned you are, the more clearly you will see what these dates bring into your life. Alignment also brings peace. Not the peace that comes from perfect circumstances, but the peace that comes from perfect awareness. When the inner world is aligned, there is no fear of the unknown. There is no confusion about what lies ahead, because alignment gives you confidence, not in the events, but in your ability to understand them. When you are aligned, you do not worry about what may happen. You trust that whatever happens is part of the divine flow. This is the kind of inner stability God wants you to have when you walk into 28th and 29th November. Not anxiety, not overthinking, but a calm heart, a clear mind, and a tuned spirit. Alignment allows you to sense divine timing before it becomes visible. You begin to feel internal shifts. You begin to notice new thoughts rising. You begin to experience a pull towards certain decisions or a release from certain attachments. These are signs of alignment. They show that your inner world is adjusting to the path God is preparing for you. You may feel a desire to clean your environment, to distance yourself from negativity, to spend more time alone, to reflect more deeply. These impulses are not random. They are spiritual preparation. They are your soul aligning itself with the message. The more aligned you become, the more guided you feel. Guidance does not always arrive as words. It arrives as intuition, as clarity, as certainty, as inner peace, as subtle movement. Alignment sharpens your ability to receive this guidance. It turns confusion into direction. It transforms doubt into trust. It prepares you for what is coming on those sacred days. And finally, alignment is an act of respect. When God marks a date, aligning yourself is your way of saying, "I am listening. I am present. I am ready." It is your way of honoring the message. It is your way of showing that you take divine communication seriously. This level of respect creates a deeper connection between you and the source. It strengthens your relationship with guidance. It opens you to receive more. So as 28th and 29th November approach, cultivate alignment. Bring your thoughts into clarity. Bring your emotions into balance. Bring your intentions into purity. Bring your awareness into the present moment. Let your inner world become quiet. Let your spirit become sensitive. Let your energy become focused, because alignment is the key that unlocks the meaning behind divine timing. And when you walk into those days aligned, you will not just experience them, you will understand them. You will sense the shift, You will recognize the message. You will feel the movement. You will see what others will miss. And in that moment, you will understand why God told you to be ready.